Hello again, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another week of Coach Mike Fantasy Football. We're a week before the NFL season starts, and a lot of injuries. Guys are dropping like flies. But I guess the big news right now is that the Jags cut Leonard Fournette. He went on waivers today, and nobody picked him up because of the $4 million price tag. So I'm sure by 4 o'clock tomorrow he will be on another team. So what do you think about that, Jim?
Well, that was a complete shock to me because I thought Fournette was going to have a good year, was in a good situation. And so where is he going to end up? You know, if he ends up on a team with a good offensive line, he could be a good value pick.
Indeed. Now, David Montgomery just got hurt in Chicago, but they got a lousy line. Bill O'Brien is capable of doing anything in Houston. He could end up in Tampa, and I also think he could end up in New England. And New England, I think, would be a great landing spot for him. Bill likes to take chances on guys like that.
Yeah.
The British guy in our league said that he didn't think Bill would take a lazy player, but he took Randy Moss. Randy Moss suddenly wasn't lazy anymore.
Yeah, Bill has a way of motivating players, especially if the other players discards, you know.
Right. And he takes chances, and if like Ocho Cinco it doesn't work out, it didn't cost him anything.
Right.
So a lot of people are wondering what to do about the Jacksonville backfield now. Raquel Armstead will be the 3-down back, the main runner, and then Chris Thompson will come in third downs to catch passes. So Chris Thompson is a good pickup in PPR. But Jacksonville is just so lousy. I'm not too thrilled about any of them. The guy I really think that could get a lot of benefit from this is rookie Laviska Shenault. Big dude, fast dude, incredibly skilled, and he ran the Wildcat at Colorado, averaged 7 yards per carry, and scored 7 touchdowns. So I think rather than the running backs, I think Armstead goes up a bunch on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. Can he catch the ball out of the backfield?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only question I would have because you said he's a third down back. So you got to catch the ball.
No. Shenault is a wide receiver.
No, I'm talking about Armstrong, the running back that's going to be the main guy.
We're going to bring in Chris Thompson for third down.
That's what I was getting at. That's what I think too. Yeah. So you think this quarterback, this running quarterback, is going to be a good wide receiver? The guy from Colorado, who is
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I also think they're tanking for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, because who's going to get him the ball? That's the other question.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jacksonville is rebuilding, getting rid of everyone that Tom Coughlin brought in. So it's a new regime, and they'll probably get fired.
My feeling is don't touch them, unless you think you're getting somebody that's falling into your lap and grab them up. But otherwise, I'd be a little bit shy about picking anybody on that team.
I really like Laviska, and I really like their safety because he's going to have to make a lot of tackles. They got rid of everybody else. So
yeah. So there's a lot of press about the rookie running back crop coming up this year. What do you think about that?
Well, I wonder about that because I got all caught up in the hype. I always do. I made mad trades to get in second and third in our leagues, just crazy trades because I was so excited to get these guys. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the real deal. Andy Reid said he's better than Brian Westbrook, so that's a done deal. Clyde is definitely worth it. But after that, there's questions between Jonathan Taylor at Indianapolis, Swift at Detroit, and then Dobbins at Baltimore. I really like Dobbins. I think Mark Ingram was breaking down last year, so I don't think Dobbins is the best back, but I think he's got the best chances. Swift already got hurt, and he's got to deal with Keyshawn Johnson. And then Jonathan Taylor has to deal with Marlon Mack. And the thing that really perplexed me, I started thinking, if Taylor's so good, why did the Colts draft Pittman 7 picks ahead? I mean, maybe they had the problem of choosing between Taylor and Swift like a lot of us did. But if Taylor and Swift are the next Zeke and Saquon, why wait? I mean, I just don't understand that unless they really do like Marlon Mack. And then Taylor could be a problem. So
I like Marlon Mack.
Yeah, he's a good player.
If he's healthy, he's going to be fine.
And they got a fantastic line there.
Yeah.
So if Taylor's not in the committee, that's great. But I really think that Dobbins has probably got the clearest path.
And that Baltimore line is pretty good too.
Oh, yeah. As long as the quarterback doesn't vulture too many touchdowns.
And he might.
So you remember Percy Harvin?
Remind me about him.
Minnesota Vikings when Favre was there, wide receiver. But a lot of times, dude didn't play. Do you remember why?
No.
Migraines.
Ooh.
Now, Terrell Davis got migraines in the Super Bowl, and he really had a problem with it. But other than those two, I haven't heard about migraines much. But suddenly, out of the blue, Joe Mixon stopped going to practice because of migraines. So a lot of people dropped him on their boards. But I had a suspicion about that. He wants a new contract. So why not suddenly get migraines? How does anybody know whether or not you're really getting the migraines?
Yeah. It's like a back injury, It's like, yeah.
So a couple of days ago, I convinced myself this is just a scam. A lot of guys aren't holding out anymore. They're holding in. And they conveniently get injured. So guess what happened today? Joe Mixon signed a new contract. So
his migraines cleared up, I bet.
He's suddenly feeling better.
Yeah. Well, he was a top pick in many leagues, I think. And at least going in, the projection was that he was going to go very high.
Well, he's one of the few bell cows, and Cincinnati's going to be behind in a lot of games. They're going to be slinging it, but until they're behind, they're definitely going to be riding Mixon. And
they're going to be giving him the ball, whether on the ground or through the air. They're going to get a ball in his hands. He's their big play guy.
Yeah.
So.
I really like Carson Wentz, and his whole world has blown up in the last few days.
Yes.
He lost his offensive tackle. That also hurts Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has a hamstring, and now Carson's having some problems with his back. So what looked really good at Philadelphia. Oh, and Rager got hurt too. And I think we're hearing he may be out as much as 4 weeks, the rookie wide receiver. And Alshon Jeffrey probably won't be available. So,
wow,
the Eagles are really cursed.
That is a rash of injuries, and that's the one thing in fantasy football you can't control for. You got a guy that's on paper looking great, and he gets hurt. What can you do?
Indeed,
it happens every year.
And then we have the Cardinals. Everybody's gone crazy over Kenyon Drake this year. Yeah. Remember, he was not doing well at Miami.
Not at all.
Because of his coach, Gase. And then they decided to get rid of him. And I thought he was going to be going to Detroit. That's why I made that deal with Matt. And then he ended up in Arizona. And I thought he wasn't going to do good there. He played on Thursday night and just was incredibly fantastic.
Yeah.
So before that,
but do you think he's going to reproduce that this year?
No.
Yeah.
No. I really have. I have concerns whether or not he's even going to be a starting running back, because Chase Edmonds was doing fantastic, and teammates were patting him on the back till he got hurt, and he was only playing because Edmonds was hurt. So I think that's a real battle this year, and I really like Edmonds. I think the hype train has gone up on Drake, and then. He ended up, he's wearing a boot now. He's got a foot problem.
Uh-oh.
A guy wearing a walking boot. Is that serious? It could be. But what is a walking boot? It's just a cushion for a sore foot. So it's possible that it's not a big deal. But again, more question marks about Kenyon Drake.
Right.
That concerns me. David Montgomery messed up his groin. He could be out for quite a while. I don't like the line. I don't like any of the. I'd stay away from Chicago. That's my opinion on that.
Right.
Darrell Henderson hurt his hamstring with the Rams. A lot of people like Cam Akers. I think the line there is lousy situation to avoid.
Do you think a wide receiver on that team is still valuable, though?
Cooper Kupp. He hurt his ankle, but he's expected to be ready for Week 1 versus Dallas. But towards the end of the season last year, he fell off a cliff, and they started using Tyler Higbee. And that could be just by design then. Cooper Kupp is a very good player, but I got rid of all my shares of Cooper Kupp and when I was making the mad trades up for the draft picks.
How did you use your draft picks?
Well, I went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I went with Jerry Jeudy, and I went with Tua Tagovailoa, even though the chances are he's not going to play until next year. It's totally unclear there. So I also picked up Ryan Fitzpatrick because I think Tua is worth holding on to. Even if
you're in a dynasty league, so you'll have him next year if you have him this year.
Right. We got 5 quarterbacks in our league. I got Brady. I got Rodgers. I got Pat Mahomes. So I think I can take the chance on that. I wanted to stay young. So I doubt I'll be able to get Trevor Lawrence because whoever gets the first pick, I doubt they'll give that up in our league.
Right. And, Brady's not going to last forever, even though he's putting on a pretty good show right now. He's 42, I think.
Yeah, and it was interesting about all the hype on him. Major hype train. And then what was it, Friday? Bruce Arians was very, very disappointed that the offense suddenly just didn't show up. So everything's out of sync there. They had 2 bad practices in a row. Hopefully they'll get back on track. Unfortunately for the Bucs, they have to play New Orleans Week 1 in the Superdome. There's not going to be any noise, but I guess they'll pump in noise. But anyway, the Saints are a team they're very used to each other, and the Bucs are like new guys trying to learn their way. So right. Week 1's going to be tough.
Right. Yeah, they might get better as the season goes on, but maybe not right off the bat, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so what about the last year's rookie running backs? Anybody that's going to have a standout second year for you?
Well, that's interesting because of the situation in New England. I mean,
they had Michael last year, who did pretty well for them.
Right, and he got hurt, and then they picked up Lamar Miller, and Lamar Miller is hurt. And then the other deal there is, let me pull this up. Okay. Yeah, Damien Harris was a hot draft pick last year. I picked him up in every league, and he played 4 downs. They're saying he's blowing up in practice, and he may be the lead back. Again, the Belichick situation with running backs is very, very tough.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kyle Shanahan with the Shanahanigans. So,
what do you think about their quarterback situation?
I don't have a clue. I don't know if he's well. If he is, it's interesting. And already Julian Edelman is tweeting pictures of him wearing a Batman cape next to Superman. Julian Edelman says Batman and Superman. Just like he always used to suck up to Brady. Now he's sucking up to Cam. So
well, Cam, Belichick has got this ability to bring out guys that are, everybody's down on them, and then they get to Belichick, and Belichick makes them great again.
Indeed.
So it could be that Cam is a good pickup. I don't know.
Well, it's amazing how long he waited to get him.
That's true. Maybe he was doing due diligence, checking him out, make sure he was healthy.
Oh, yeah, the same thing with Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas got the big money, he got hurt at Seattle. Seattle let him go, and then he went for the big money with the Ravens. And all he's done is rub the team wrong. And he got in a fight at practice, and they just cut him. And Jerry Jones wanted him for the longest time, but last I've heard, nobody's picked him up yet. I think he's just a problem in the locker room that nobody wants to deal with. It's a shame.
Yeah. Do you think Odell Beckham is a problem in the locker room or just a problem?
That's a great question. Actually, I think the locker room likes him.
Yeah, I think so too.
And he's a very hard worker. He's very talented.
Yep.
But somewhere he just goes off on a tangent and loses his focus. I think he's more interested in being a superstar than a football player. He's trying to brand himself.
Yeah, he is a major talent, though. Yeah. He's a major talent. So, I don't know when I should pull the trigger on him. Because like you say, some days he just doesn't have it up here.
Yeah.
And other days he looks like the greatest wide receiver in history. So it's a real if he drops to me late, I'd take him in a second. But I don't think I'd take a really, like a first round or maybe even a second round pick on him, maybe a second round pick. But if it comes to me in the third round, I'd pick him. I think. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Cleveland is going to be better this year. I mean, they got two offensive tackles. They got arguably the best tight end duel. Well, I don't know. I guess Tampa.
Or the Ravens. Maybe.
And between Hunt and
what's his name? I can't remember his name either. It's on the tip of my tongue.
John.
Yeah, they got a couple of good tight ends.
Yeah, Hooper and
Hooper.
Njoku.
Well, Hooper was on Atlanta last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think he just I'm not too impressed with Hooper. I think whoever plays tight end at Atlanta is going to do good, like Hayden Hurst. I think Hayden Hurst is a terrific pickup. Tight ends are actually an interesting thing this year because they run out really quick, the top ones in the draft. I like Ian Thomas at Carolina, but the problem there's too many mouths to feed between McCaffrey and everybody else. I think that's a tough one. I argue with Matt about I like Greg Olsen in Seattle. The guy was going to retire. He played really good hurt last year on a team that's terrible. And now he's got Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson, whoever plays tight end for Seattle, gets touchdowns.
Yeah, that's true.
You can pick up Greg Olsen for a song. And
the linebackers have to come up to guard against Wilson scoring, and then he just tosses the ball to him.
Yeah. And why did the guy come back? He's very smart. He's very talented. It's going to be his last year before he goes into broadcasting. So I expect him to go out with a bang. I mean, that's just my thought.
Well, there's more tight ends now than there used to be. It used to be like if you couldn't get Kansas City's tight end, you're hurting. And then Kittle came on strong, and not so then it was 1-2, and now there's a bunch of tight ends that could help your team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I like Eric Ebron at Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger is very tight end dependent.
Yes.
Ebron did fantastic when he was with Andrew Luck. And I noticed that the connection with Jacoby Brissett, the timing was fantastic because Brissett depended that he would get to a spot and throw it there, and Ebron was very good at that. So the guy gets really angry about people picking on him about his abilities because he's been uneven. And I think he needs to keep his nose not talking in the media because he talks a lot in the media about it. But I expect him to have a very good year.
Yeah. So how about is there another second-year running back that you think might have a breakout year?
Well, before we get to that, I want to mention T.J. Hawkinson. He was kind of the best tight end coming out in the draft last year, and he was hurt, very uneven. He's hurt again, but they're saying he's going to play week 1. So his connection with Stafford should really build. Tight ends the first year are always a problem. They usually take until the second year. So, second year guys. Damien Harris and, you got anybody in mind?
Because I'm a New York Giants fan, I like Barkley. McCaffrey is a given. And then there's a little bit of a drop off for me, but what about the guy in for the Saints? He was hurt last year, but
Kamara was hurt all year.
Yeah.
And he just signed a big contract. So yeah, Kamara should be great. The guy that I got lucky, my backfield got thin, and I picked up Devin Singletary last year. And he was fantastic.
Yeah, and I didn't see that coming.
He was very elusive, but they didn't put 8 men in the box against him. And Buffalo went and drafted Zach Moss. And and Singletary's always had a fumbling problem. So I'm very vested in this guy, and it's looking like Zach Moss could usurp him. So there's a second-year guy. I don't know.
What does Ken Reagan think about that? Because he's a Buffalo guy.
I should have asked him.
Yeah, me too. He's the mathematician, and he knows the numbers. But
he's a big Buffalo fan,
and that's his team, right? So that's why I thought of him.
Now Ronald Jones is going to be the bell cow for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, but I don't think he's that talented. And
I don't either.
Yeah. I fully expect Keyshawn Vaughn is much better, and he will prove that this year, and he will prove that this year, and he will prove that this year, and Arians will not play him. Very, very little. He will not let him take the place of Ronald Jones.
You're not high on the coach.
No, I love the coach. He's not high on first-year running backs.
I see.
He get Brady killed. He did the same thing in Arizona. He made David Johnson wait forever before he could play and just went with Chris Johnson. He's going to do the same thing with Ronald Jones just for the pass protection. He didn't go get Brady. He's not going to risk it. So
that's a good point, Mike.
So Keyshawn is a good guy to maybe snag and hold for next year. Next year, I expect him to be fantastic. I expect Ronald Jones to go back to his uneven results.
That's the downside of Barkley as well, is that he doesn't pass block. He does everything else great, but he's not a good pass blocker. So sometimes that's a big consideration if running backs getting time, because the coach is not going to put you out there if you're going to get your quarterback killed.
Yeah, another second-year guy that was poised for an absolutely fantastic second year is Miles Sanders. And now he's hurt. His line is hurt. A lot of guys are picking up Boston Scott, who did very well last year out of the blue. The guy actually put up fantastic numbers. So while Miles Sanders looked fantastic, the injuries in Philly and everything, and my God, that's another place Leonard Fournette might go. And if Leonard Fournette ends up there, so Miles Sanders' value has plummeted.
Well, if Leonard Fournette ends up there, he still doesn't have blocking.
Right. So, right, exactly.
Yeah. So what teams do you think are surprisingly well this year? Because this year's kind of funny with COVID and everything, no preseason, no, workouts and the kind of stuff. So it's all kind of crammed together. So, you can't get this idea of an exhibition season to see who's really going to be favored or anything like that. So we don't have the normal amount of information.
That's a really good question. I really like what Indianapolis has done. I think they're building the team the right way, and they're spending their money the right way, and they're getting quality guys. Except I don't know what's up with Phillip Rivers. He was horrible last year. Of course, he had terrible protection. He probably will have a bounce-back season this year. But if Rivers plays well, I expect big things out of Paris Campbell, too. T.Y. Hilton, dude is always hurt.
He was hurt last year a lot.
Yeah.
He would come back and tease you and then get hurt again.
He already hurt a hamstring. It's like all these guys coming from COVID. It's like a lot of hamstring injuries right off the rip. And that's a serious problem. It almost makes me want to take the guys off my draft board because that really lingers with T.Y. And last year, he almost looked like he was done. But they're saying He's going to be okay. But I still like Paris Campbell. I'm not so sure about Pittman. I don't know if he's going to get the chance this year. And I'm really perplexed why they took Pittman ahead of Taylor. I just can't figure that out.
And why did they wait until Andrew Luck left to rebuild the offensive line?
Oh, my God. I love Andrew Luck.
Me too.
And I just, Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck, it makes me cry, man. I mean, seriously. And Brett, Ted Thompson just never got anybody in the line. He didn't spend high draft picks on linemen. So Luck probably would still be playing if they had a line for him. And he just had so many ridiculous injuries.
He just kept getting hammered every game. Yeah. I can't imagine getting up from one of those hits, let alone all the hits he took.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a real, it's not a tragedy because it's only sports, but it's very sad that a guy with that amount of talent, that amount of charisma, that amount of spark and love for the game had to just say that enough is enough. You know, he should have been protected. And I think that goes maybe not to the coach, but to the general manager. You know, somebody should have been building that offensive line.
Well, general manager's doing a fantastic job now. Absolutely fantastic. Maybe the best job in the league. Now, the Minnesota Vikings, they just got Yannick Ngakoue, defensive end from Jacksonville's having just clearing out everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. And that's much to my chagrin because Aaron Rodgers is going to have a lot of problems week one with the pressure from that line. The Vikings had lost a lot of defensive players, and they have rapidly rebuilt. They also let Stephon Diggs go, and Jefferson was at LSU, the rookie, did like video games numbers at LSU, but from what I understand, he hasn't lit it up in practice. So I don't know what's going to happen. Kirk Cousins, I think, really needs some help there, but the defense is back on track.
Good. What about Theron, the wide receiver? He was great, and then he got hurt last year, so he didn't put up the numbers.
Well, he needs Jefferson, I think, to not have the total coverage. He needs Jefferson to do well. But I think he's going to have a great year now that he's by far the number one receiver.
Right.
What do you think about the Vikings? I mean, the Lions.
Well, you know, your friend Mark is a big Lions fan, so I'm not going to say anything bad about him. You know, and I do think that Stafford to Marvin Jones is going to be heard from this year because I thought they developed a really good connection between the two of them, and then Jones got hurt towards the end of the year, or they would have put up some staggering numbers because they were really clicking. And there's other guys to throw up to on that team, and I think Stafford is a big-time quarterback with a big arm, you know. So if he gets time, get a little bit of a running game, I think they can be a pretty good offense.
Yeah, he was like the number 2 quarterback in fantasy until he got hurt. He had better numbers than Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
And he was on my team, and I was very pleased about that.
Yeah.
But Matt,
you can't go wrong with Mahomes, right? If he's available, you got to grab him, don't you?
Well, Matt had Mahomes, and he offered him to me, which I was really shocked. And naturally, he wanted Stafford. So he got Stafford and Wentz and Saquon and the Philadelphia running back. He really took me to the cleaners. But I wanted Mahomes. So I love Stafford, but Mahomes is just in a league of his own right now. Amazing guy. And a good guy, too. Quality guy.
Yeah. And there's no pass he can't make. You know, running right, running left, he can do it all. So as long, and what do you think about his chances of staying healthy again? This is always the big question.
Well, I hate to see him running like with reckless abandon.
Right.
He'll probably do it again, but I would hope Andy would tell him to chill out on that. That's the other thing I'm worried about in Baltimore.
Lamar Jackson, right?
Yeah.
He was amazing to watch, but you just cringe sometimes at the hits he takes.
Yeah, absolutely. That guy, he doesn't care. He's looking to hit guys. And the funny thing is, it could turn out like RG3. And then who would be replacing him? RG3.
RG3.
And you know RG3 ain't going to run around like that again.
You can't make this stuff up.
You can't. You can't. How do you think Nick Foles is it going to be Foles or Trubisky? The coach is like pretending like he hasn't decided yet because he just wants to make everybody wait and not know. But it's obviously, I think, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's got to be Foles because Trubisky just hasn't shown it yet, and Foles is no bargain. You know, he can be really good and he can be really bad, but you know, I would start him until he starts going bad and then bring Trubisky off the bench and have him save the day. And maybe that's what his confidence needs. Come in and turn it around. To be the savior instead of the guy that has to carry the burden. I don't know, but it could be interesting to watch.
Brian Billick was saying that if you go with Foles, you've burned your bridges. He's saying you got to go with Trubisky. And then it's like hard to go back to Trubisky once you went with Foles. I mean, they traded up to get the guy in the draft. I think that's another reason the coach isn't naming the starter because he doesn't want to make the general manager look like an idiot for drafting him. But he just wasn't very good.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think that what you're saying is really true. You know, when you move up to draft a guy, you kind of like you got to hope that he makes it. But I still think, just from a psychological standpoint, if you start off with Foles and Foles collapses and Trubisky comes off the bench and saves the day, that might be just the boost he needs to become a good quarterback in the league. And if you start him and he struggles again, he may never become a good quarterback.
Right.
So that's a really tough call. And you drafted Judy, you said in your draft.
Yeah. Well, you know, when we had Walt on the show right before our draft week, and we have Matt and I've got leagues on Tuesday and Thursday, companion leagues. That's been for 10 years. So Matt just had a league that he became commissioner of, and he set that draft for Wednesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we had mega 2-hour drafts. It was a blast. But Walt said that if you have the choice between the running back and wide receiver, that running backs are scarce, go with Dobbins or Taylor or Swift. You know, one of those three. And he really liked Swift.
Yeah.
In the Big Ten Nation draft, they only had like 5 keepers there. I already had 2 running backs. So I felt I needed to go with Judy, and I just couldn't get another running back that was decent. So Walt was right. So I learned my lesson from that. And Dana was telling us he was going to go with Joe Burrow at number 1 in our draft on Thursday night. And I had it all figured out that I would get either Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Taylor, and then I might grab Tua at number 3. And then Dana auto-picked somehow. He had a problem with his phone. He ended up taking Helaire, and then Taylor went, and now I was in the unenviable position to decide if I wanted to go with Judy or if I wanted to go to Taylor. I mean, not Taylor. If I wanted to go with Swift or if I wanted to go with Dobbins. I was in a mad panic. It was very, very uncomfortable. I wasn't going to go with Judy. Maybe I should have gone with Tua, but I thought I learned my lesson from Walt, and I know that Matt wanted to get Swift, and Swift could be in a committee, so I took Dobbins. And I think that's the only mistake I might have made in that draft.
Well, weren't you just saying earlier that Dobbins might be in the best situation?
He's not the best player, but he is in the best situation.
Right.
But it could be all these guys might not be any good, too. I mean, the year that Eddie Lacy and Le'Veon Bell were drafted, I was all over Eddie Lacy.
Yeah.
And he looked really good. But it wasn't long, and he ate himself out of the league. So really, you know, they're starting to draft running backs in the 2nd round, 3rd round. They're like a dime a dozen. And they run the life out of them and try to get to the playoffs on their rookie contract, and then they're expendable. They don't want to pay them, just like what the Jags did with Fournette.
What do you think of Henry from Tennessee? Because I know what Walt said last week really kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. A lot of guys hate him. He's very polarizing. They think that he's had too many carries and that he's due to break down. Statistically, it's hard to have those kind of seasons back to back to back.
Right. And it's what you were saying earlier, like the number of carries. And he's certainly got a lot of carries. And they rode him throughout the playoffs. They just kept feeding him the ball.
Well, when they drafted him, I was shocked that they didn't use him. I mean, they just waited years until Matt LaFleur finally figured out, maybe I should use Derrick Henry. Because they had Deion Lewis there. That's like crazy. I just never understood Tennessee's moves. And then it wasn't rocket science. And the guy was fantastic, carried the team.
And he's so big. That's the thing. When they talk about the carries and the usage and he's got to break down, I don't know. That guy is so huge. He might be able to – he gives out more punishment than he takes, Nobody wants to hit him in the backfield. They don't want to come up and tackle him. And so, if he takes a lot of shots from defensive linemen, he's going to get hurt eventually. But, if he's in the backfield, he's not going to get hurt. He's too big. And he's fast. So – although I have a lot of respect for Walt, and it made me think, I'm not going to let him go down too far down the draft board before I pick him up. If he's available, I think someone's going to grab him in the first round, though.
Yeah, and that's what's perplexing about what Green Bay has done. I mean, they didn't get any weapons for Aaron. Instead, they get his replacement, allegedly. And the guy's just been terrible, absolutely terrible. And they traded up to get him. Jordan Love is just horrible. And then he gets that big back, which is like a Derrick Henry clone. and I was wondering if Aaron Jones was going to be upset about that. I actually saw him on TV last night, and he's talking about he's wondering how the guy's able to move with those big thighs. So, I mean, it's like the two Aarons are laughing at the idiocy of the Green Bay drafts. It just broke my heart.
Well, Aaron Jones is going to get his share of carries. I mean, how could you not give him the ball? He's a great running back.
But he's not going to get 19 touchdowns this year. There's no way to replicate that. But he's going to have a great season. I have total faith in him.
Yeah, me too. I think that. And do you think Aaron Rodgers he's going to be a Packer this year? How long do you think he's going to remain a Packer?
Okay, either this year or 2 seasons tops before he goes to San Francisco, goes back home. I don't think much of Jimmy Garoppolo, and I don't think that the staff is going to mention in public how upset they are that he cost them the Super Bowl. I mean, the guy was wide open in the end zone, and he just didn't hit him. Garoppolo, I'm not impressed with him. I think they'll be glad to replace him with Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron, that's home for him, Chico, California.
That's why the 49ers should have drafted him.
Yeah.
Before Alex Smith. It's like, I still haven't quite forgiven them for that. They could have had Aaron Rodgers all these years.
Yeah, and I've got George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, and I actually tried to trade Deebo to you, and I'm so glad that you did not. And then in the other league, I managed to pick up Deebo the day of the draft for a 4th-round draft pick. So Deebo dropped down the boards because of the injury, but I sent you the video of him cutting and running. I think he'll be fine. And San Francisco has had so many injuries, they really need him. So I cannot wait to have Aaron throwing to Deebo and George Kittle.
Because
Green Bay.
Kittle was the kind of like the only option for them for a while. They didn't have wide receivers worth throwing to, and now they got one, and I think he's going to have a good year, and I know you think he is, and so Kittle should still be a big production guy. I think he gets in the end zone. I think he catches a lot of passes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I like Raheem Mostert there too, very much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know if they're going to win the division.
Well, their defense is still pretty good, isn't it? They didn't lose anybody.
They had a rash of injuries.
Oh, okay.
Arizona, Seattle.
Good team. Arizona wasn't a good team, but they're on the rise, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Their defense is ridiculous now. Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker there, very, very talented. Chandler Jones will probably lead the league in sacks this year. And then you got Budda Baker at safety.
Yeah.
I mean, awesome defense.
Yeah.
Now, as for the receiver they just picked up, Nuke, he's not going to get the volume that he had at Houston, that's for sure. There's a lot of mouths to feed there, too. But I think they're going to do pretty well in offense. So,
well, he's been one of my favorite draft picks, because he's been not only catching the ball, but getting in the end zone and sometimes for big yardage, so I've liked him as a wide receiver. And even if he doesn't get as much production, he's still going to be effective. He's still going to get.
Yeah. He's going to be great for the team.
Yeah.
And I just heard reports that Chris Carson is saying he's 100%. I was really concerned about that, hip injuries.
Right. Scary.
Broken hip. But apparently he's come back 100%. They got DK Metcalf. Seattle could be a problem for the 49ers. The 49ers barely beat them last year. They were lucky to beat them, and that game mattered. So, and then the barometer, San Francisco definitely got better, and Green Bay didn't do anything to get better, and Green Bay got killed by them last year. So,
yeah.
Seattle or
but I think they'll get out of their conference because I don't think Chicago is that big a threat. I think Detroit might be, maybe. I think I like their offense more than I do their defense, though.
Yeah, and Patricia, he's going to be out the door if he doesn't have results this year. And he got a lot of New England players on defense. He's giving it a try, but.
But Belichick has a way of letting people go when they're done.
Yeah.
Maybe they have 1 year left, but they're on their way out when he lets them go.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Vikings are going to be a problem now that they got a pass rush again.
Yeah. Well, how key is the pass rush now? I think it's like become much more important than it used to be, and it was always important. But you got to put pressure on the passer.
Yeah, the rules now, you can't touch a quarterback.
Yeah.
They're getting ridiculous. But still, the pressures, they're, like Aaron Donald, totally determined games.
Yeah.
And you're right, that's what I'm concerned about. The Packers let some linemen go. They really haven't replaced them. I've got no reason to be happy, really. I mean,
that's what makes
it's not good.
That's what makes Mahomes so effective. Is not only is he really quick in decision making, but he's also can get out of those pass rushes. Like Lamar Jackson's the only one who just makes you go, "Whoa! How do you get out of that?" And it's one of those guys. You can't have this traditional stand up and pocket passer anymore. That doesn't seem to work. They've got to be mobile.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not sure Phillip Rivers is the answer anymore. And Tom Brady slowed way down the last couple of years.
Yeah.
He can't get out of the pressure the way he used to. He used to be fantastic at getting out of the pressure. Now I'm not so sure.
I really admired John Elway as a player.
Me too.
And as a general manager, he has been missing for years, just horrific choices on quarterbacks.
And you would think that's where he would be good.
Yeah, I know. It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they might have finally got a guy with Drew Lock. And they gave him Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant. He's got a lot of weapons. Oh, and then they went and got Melvin Gordon, too.
Yeah.
So they surrounded this guy with weapons.
Right.
What do you think of the Denver offense?
Well, I think It depends on the quarterback. If they finally have a quarterback, because I'm a big fan of Judy. I think he's got real star potential, and it's one of those things that the quarterback, because they have been able to run the ball in the past, and they have had some good wide receivers, but they've never had a quarterback you can count on to get them the ball. So if they do have a quarterback, I think that I like their offense.
Yeah.
But it's a big if.
Well, everybody's trying to keep up with Kansas City, and it's very, very hard.
Yes.
I mean, it's impossible. Oakland, they monkeyed up the draft, in my opinion, by taking Ruggs. They could have had Judy.
And they're not Oakland anymore.
Yeah.
They're Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. And they could have had CeeDee Lamb. What do you think of Ruggs? Ruggs is just like a speedster, in my opinion. He's going to get some big plays, but I just don't know about that pick, man.
Judy is the only one that I thought was a sure bet. And the other guys have talent. This was a pretty deep wide receiver draft.
Indeed.
Yeah. But wide receivers are funny. Sometimes they don't come on until their second year too. Sometimes it takes 3 years for them to really learn the routes, how to get open. And it's not like a running back where you give him the ball and he goes forward. The wide receivers have to know the defense. They have to know where to be, and the quarterback has to trust them to be there. And sometimes it takes these guys a while to figure it out. Now, if you just run down the sideline towards the end zone, that's not that hard. But, there's too many good players in the NFL to let you do that.
However, last year there were a bunch of guys that did fantastic. Scary Terry McLaurin on a lousy team. That guy is absolutely incredible.
And do you think it's because of the speed?
No, I think it's because of his route running. I think he's just really a smart guy.
I think the route running is underestimated. People pick up these wide receivers because they're fast, but I think the route running is the difference maker.
Yes. Now, A.J. Brown, everybody is thinking he's the next big thing. My problem there is Ryan Tannehill and the running back. It's a running team. So
I had him last year. And he would make me really happy one week and disappear the next.
Yeah. I think
that kind of player drives you nuts.
Yeah.
You want the consistency. You want the guy that gets yards every game, gets in the end zone once in a while or more than that. And he's not one of those guys.
Yeah, but DK Metcalf is definitely the real deal. He is probably past Lockett as the primary receiver in Seattle. Now, this year, I'm very disappointed in Jefferson. I really thought because they were putting him in the slot, too, I thought he was going to do great. So I don't know what's the deal with him. Rager is a jack of all trades that can place all over the field. He was lighting it up in training camp, and now he's hurt.
Yeah.
So,
that's another guy that I liked. Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't heard much about Judy. Have you?
No, I haven't.
What is that?
I don't know, because during the draft he was getting a lot of play, and then it's like he went to Denver and disappeared or something. I don't know.
Yeah, witness protection program.
Right. He should be in Arizona for that, though. But
yeah.
But I think that all of these guys have question marks. Whenever you're a rookie coming into the league, there's so many guys who can't miss, like Ryan Leaf, and they turn out to be complete busts. And then there's these guys that get overlooked and are underestimated, and they turn out to be stars. So there's only so much that you can do in the prediction game, but you got to take your best shot. You got to rely on what you think what you're seeing is what you believe in. Go for it. That's been always my opinion. I saw Barkley at Penn State, and I said, this guy can't miss.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I was right. But that's one time, There are other times where I thought this guy is a can't miss, and he was a miss. So,
yeah, it's actually rare, isn't it, that they when they do pan out?
Yeah. It's very nice to be pleasantly surprised, but too often you're going, wow, man, I thought that guy was better than he turned out. Now, the one exception was the guy you mentioned, Elway. I saw him at Stanford, and he was like a man playing among boys. He was unbelievable. And then he got drafted, and he was just as good in the pros.
Yeah, he got drafted and said he wasn't going to be a Colt. That's how good he was. He got away with that.
Yeah.
Only him and Eli, I think, have been able to do that. Just I'm going to go where I want to go.
Right.
Amazing. Now we got IDPs in our leagues and defensive players. There are some incredible rookie values. Ken Murray, Patrick Queen in Baltimore, and Isaiah Simmons, I already mentioned.
Yeah.
And Antoine Winfield Jr. You remember Antoine Winfield?
You know, I do, but I'm not sure where he played.
He was a superstar. Now, Antoine Winfield Jr. is with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a position that has been sorely lacking.
Yes.
This guy is available in every league.
Since Warren Sapp and Simeon Rice, they haven't had the
Yeah, this guy's fantastic, and you can get him late. The other guy you can get late is Jeremy Chin, and he will be playing a lot of linebacker, and linebackers get more points. So that's a loophole where you can draft a safety and start him at safety, but he's going to get linebacker numbers. So I grabbed that in every league as well.
So what do you think is going to happen to Fournette? Where do you think he's going to land? And would you pick him, depending on where he landed, if you thought the offensive line was good? Would you pick waste a high draft pick on him, or would you?
Not a high draft pick.
Yeah.
No, not a high draft pick, because wherever he goes, it's liable to be committee. I mean, like New England, Philadelphia.
Now it's another guy who was a can't misser, in my opinion. When I saw him in college, I thought this guy is going to be a big time pro.
Yeah, he was a brute. But he was even had some issues in college about his attitude.
Yeah.
Now, the Redskins' backfield is hard to sort out. You got Bryce Love, who got hurt last year. He was a high draft choice. He's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And Adrian Peterson is timeless.
Apparently, yeah. I wouldn't put him past. I didn't draft him last year because I thought he was done. He wasn't done.
Right. He's an incredible specimen. Antonio Gibson is a wide receiver, running back. He's kind of like Ty Montgomery was with the Packers, and he returns a lot like Ty Montgomery, like a lot better. This guy's a jack of all trades, and if they use him at running back, they have a Christian McCaffrey role planned for him.
Really?
So that could be a sleeper if he can get past Love and Peterson.
Well, you know that McCaffrey was misused his first year at Carolina. They didn't use him. They just, threw him to the outside and said, show us your speed. But that guy could run inside too. And when they started using him inside and outside, the defense didn't know where he was going. And, so it's how you use these guys too. They got to be in the right spot, the right system to make them excel. And that's another crapshoot. Some of these guys are good coaches, and they'll take you and they'll use you the way you should be used. And other guys just want you to fit into their system. And if you can't, they don't use you. So is there any sleeper? We're getting towards the top of the hour. We're not there yet. But is there any sleeper that you would recommend people to keep an eye on? Anybody that is fallen under the radar?
I really like Laviska Shenault, and when I tried to get him, other guys got him ahead of me. I was trying to get him late, and he didn't go that late. I was very surprised about that. Antonio Brown, if you're in a league that has IR, you can pick up Antonio Brown and stash him for half the season until his suspension is done. And
now, do you think he's a head case too, or what's going on with him?
A head case, and I made the mistake of letting Matt talk me into a trade with him. And what happened in New England, and I wanted to I felt so stupid. And then he went to Oakland, and then he totally blew that.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
It was
it was Oakland and then New England.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that running out there, I'm free. And then he goes and blows it because he can't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
But the 1 week he did play, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. If he can behave himself for half a season, that guy can win you a championship maybe. So I have him on IR. I got him at the end of the draft, and I'll decide later if I want to roll the dice on him again.
Right. Right. But you can in your league, can you do waivers? Like, can you waive him when you decide, okay, he's never going to pan out?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what's your advice on the waiver wire?
Well, we're going to start that next week, and that's what the show is going to be focused on because drop ads are on Tuesday and processed on Wednesday. So every week, you know what happens is somebody balls out, and all these ESPN guys and everybody just goes with the guy that got the stats. And I'll probably do that somewhat too, but I'll try to sort it out for you guys, who's worth taking and who isn't. Another guy that is you can maybe get late is Alan Lazard at Green Bay. Aside from Devontae Adams, there's nobody else for Aaron to throw to. And Lazard has done a good job.
Yes.
He sits next to Aaron in meetings. Yeah. And there's nobody else. Everybody else has been an epic fail. So that's a guy you can get late.
Yeah, because that guy, he will put up numbers because everybody's going to cover Adams.
Deshaun Jackson played 1 game last year, and it was fantastic with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then he got hurt with the Bucs, and now he's back with the Eagles. The Eagles have a ton of injuries. I would start Deshaun week 1, and I think he's going to have a good early season until he gets hurt. Well, Deshaun is definitely a starter for week 1.
He's a hamstring injury waiting to happen, though.
Always.
But he's a fantastic talent when he's on the field.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, Paris Campbell, I like him because T.Y. I had told myself I was going to give up on T.Y. last year. It was really rough having him on your roster.
I did. I had him on my roster.
And when he started, I didn't want to start him. I felt like I couldn't even make the decision. So I said, Walt, should I start him? He said, yeah, start him. And he was horrible. So I think Paris Campbell is finally the guy that he's been doing well in training camp, which again perplexes me why they spent that high draft pick on Pittman. But that's another one. And, Rager went early. I didn't get a value on him. And I guess that's about it.
Yeah.
So next week, I think we're going to have a great show for you guys, hitting the waiver wire hard. And, closing thoughts?
Tell me the first top 5 running backs you would take in any league, PPR, non-PPR.
Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
See, that's the one I think people are going to not pick in the top 5. Maybe not.
They haven't taken him even first because he's just in such a fantastic situation in Kansas City that is absolutely crazy.
That's true.
With Damien Williams sitting out for the season because of COVID, it just opened the doors. And I thought the guy was going to be fantastic anyway. I didn't think Damien Williams was a threat, so I was really upset that Damien did that. So he just ruined all my drafts for me. Ezekiel Elliott, too. Zeke is going to have another good year. Dallas is loaded with weapons, but the Cowboys always find a way to screw everything up. So we can expect that again.
But they will run the ball, too. They all do.
Zeke will get – when McCarthy was coaching at Green Bay, he ran Eddie Lacy a lot. He's going to do the same thing with Zeke.
Yep.
And then the other guy, Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook. I look for big seasons from them. Nick Chubb, he's going to have problems with Kareem Hunt cutting into his carries.
Yeah, didn't he get hurt too?
Yeah.
Chubb got something wrong.
Kareem Hunt could actually maybe even do better than him this year.
Mm-hmm.
That may be a situation to avoid.
Yeah.
So, I can't wait for the season to start. And
I know. So the last thing we're going to say, we got to wrap up. But Mike, walk us through what you're going to do next week.
Next week we're going to go over what happened in the games, and then we'll make our suggestion about drop ads. I'm not real high on Sam Darnold right now. I actually hope the guy does well, but the Jets just look like a train wreck. We'll see. We'll just have to wait to see how everybody does. I really appreciate everybody tuning in today.